Folks, I don't know if you have experienced this as well recently, but the latter half of April, and so far into May, it's only May 2nd right now that I'm recording this, and I'm probably going to try to get this video out pretty quickly. I'm at a loss for words for the things that have happened in my life. I cannot explain it. This sort of thing has happened before to me, but this is like, it hasn't happened in so long that I just forget how crazy it actually is. I feel like I have died and am living in some sort of alternate reality that is just, nothing makes sense. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy here. So I'm not going to go into like extreme amount of detail regarding certain situations, because probably after I record this, there could be a whole bunch of new things that come up that are just completely just throw it all into chaos again. But I will kind of talk about some situations here and just some of the realizations that I've made, because it does feel almost like another spiritual awakening for me, which I've gone through several before. Many realizations that I've had, many types of awakenings where I feel as though major progress is made, but it's never been to this degree. Okay? Here is what I have noticed. So if you've watched my previous few videos, I talked about, one was about, tarot cards and how I've been like more connected with them and using them when I've had that tarot deck for, a long time, probably like a decade. That I talked about the card that I keep on getting, which literally has a statistical probability of 0. I keep getting it in that deck, including online. Basically, no possibility of getting that whatsoever. Again and again and again and again. In addition to also, the other video was about connections with certain people, and that's kind of where this kind of leads, because what I have just noticed today even, and this is why everything is like changing. Everything is like changing. So I noticed, like, whether or not you wish to call some of these people soulmates or twin flames, it doesn't have to be romantic in nature. I think a lot of the people who have made a massive impact on my life have to some degree been some sort of romantic thing, but it doesn't have to be. But that is where a lot of progress can be made in general. But here's what I've noticed. So if I go back, including, we're talking, the first time that I really ever felt this was probably 13, 14 years ago. Okay, so like early like 2010s or so. Okay, maybe a little bit after that is when I really started to notice, like, one person, I had this profound experience that I could never explain in my entire life, and then it just kind of gone. And then the second one was like also profound right after that, and then that person gone. And then the next one was also very profound. That one lasted for a very, very long time, and then gone. And then here is like someone else now, and it just like the learning lessons. I'm like learning quicker as these things go. Like I think the first time it took me like a whole year to actually realize what was going on for the lesson for me to learn. But I would notice, because it hasn't happened in so long, it's probably because I've noticed if there's an active person in your life who is soulmate or twin flame or whatever it is, those situations don't seem to happen, is what I've noticed. Which is why I have not experienced them in quite a long time. And then all of a sudden here, that person goes, then it all comes back in. All of this interesting stuff that I cannot explain. As I said, there are too many coincidences or synchronicities that it all lines up that there's something major to be learned here. And the interesting thing is, just over the past 2 weeks, I've already learned a massive lesson that was needed for my growth as it pertains to why this person, I just cannot explain it, because it's if I start to explain all this sort of stuff, it's like people are going to be like, they're not going to believe it, okay? They're just not going to believe it. But it's just like it's had like just this massive just awareness and awakening for me to realize so many different things. Like I'd been using, as I said, I've been more in tune with like those tarot cards, and I kept getting multiple readings like before all this, like just like a few weeks ago, saying it's like something about you have to be prepared for the ride. It's going to be all over the place. And at the time, things were a little bit chaotic for me to begin with. Like things were not really, it wasn't really clear the direction things were changing or going. It didn't make any sort of sense. So I thought that's what it was talking about. But then after that, oh man, oh man. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's interesting because I talked about that card that I kept on getting. I talked about that card that I keep on getting, that a lover's card. And I made a video about it. I focused on it, and I figured out the lesson that life was teaching me regarding it, and I haven't seen it since. And it's just like, okay. I'm starting to understand things a bit clearer and better now. So the major learning lesson that life has taught me very recently, and this is something that has caused issues with relationships with other people. It has caused issues with just making myself feel stressed and anxious, and just causing all these problems for me. I am someone who likes to control things, especially in my own life. I want things to be done the way that I want them to be done. And as a result, it causes me excess stress and anxiety, because if I cannot control something, I get anxious about that. I get upset about that. That's another major problem that I've noticed, that I have to eliminate this resistance that I have, because I have a lot of resistance regarding needing things to be a certain way. I have loosened up a lot over the years. I used to be extremely strict with my schedule, to the point where it was like down to the minute, all this sort of stuff. So I have loosened up a lot. But I have noticed specifically, and this is where it leads into the other major discovery, is that it has to do with other people. I have such high expectations for other people that I have literally let myself feel let down by other people, because I build them up a certain way in my mind. Doesn't matter who they are. I build them up a certain way, and when they don't behave the way that I want them to behave, or how I think they should behave, or they don't give the reaction that I want them to give. So if I say something to someone and I'm expecting some sort of action in return, it's like, okay, I think this is how this person is going to be, and I don't get that, I would end up getting frustrated. I would get angry. I wouldn't project that onto the other person. I know some people who would end up doing that. I didn't, but I would feel as though it would cause some problems internally, which would probably make me act differently towards this person, which maybe they could sense something, or it ends up eventually creating a major conflict where I cannot communicate with this other person with the things that I like, or the things that I'm doing with my life, or things along those lines, because I know I want them to have a certain I want them to behave a certain way, and I know that they're not going to. So I end up not really sharing those sort of things. So I've had that major realization regarding, people very recently in my life, where I'm like, this is the same exact situation that this person completely changed from when, it's like I don't even know how to describe it, really. Okay, I really don't. I do my best to try to describe it the best that I can, but everything changes. I don't know. But it's like there's a lot of confusion right now as well, because those tarot cards have have been so super accurate, it's like scary even how accurate it has actually been, to the point where initially it was saying, go along for the ride, you must be patient, you must trust in the process of how things are working here, and that no matter what the obstacle is, it will always be overcome. And then everything has this drastic shift where it's like those things that seem to have applied before, some of them don't apply now, but it's like, am I making stuff up in my head here where I'm expecting something from someone else to be a certain way or for them to be a certain way? Or do I need to just lessen that up and just listen to what the cards initially said and just be like, okay, something's gonna end up working out, like my own mindset of figuring these things out? I don't know. I don't have a clue. It's just I'm at the point where things are so confusing right now because there's a lot of uncertainty. So I try to be as certain as I possibly can. I try to just rationalize things as best I can, but I realize I can't do that with this situation. With these situations, they literally make no... If I detailed everything out to you, as I said, you would think, you wouldn't believe it. It's like, it just, there's too many things. There's too many things, just like with that tarot card. When I kept drawing that same card again and again, that is not believable. It's like, how do you do with that? It wasn't intentional. I thought there was something wrong with my deck, which is why I went online. I still did it on there. So obviously there's plenty of things that are like, okay. The other interesting, crazy thing, I guess, when it comes to the whole tarot thing as well. So I'm very skeptical of most things, obviously, especially when it comes to other people who are trying to psychic people and that sort of stuff. Okay. I really am, because it's like a lot of these psychic people, they'll just give you, oh, look, there's some sort of conflict in your life regarding this person, and then they give you some generic stuff, and it's like, oh yes, that applies to me, and then you start telling them more, and then it's like, okay, you just basically revealed to them that, yeah, okay. So that is why I'm usually very skeptical of those sort of things, but I've watched a handful of like YouTube videos of people who do like the tarot readings and everything. And there's one person in particular that I have watched, and it's like she goes into more depth about certain things, and it's almost like it's like she's talking exactly to me in this situation, even down to more details than I have ever like talked about or outlined here regarding certain people, certain events, how I'm communicating with the other person, how they're communicating with me, the situation that is unfolded, or how things have happened. And I'm just like, okay, it's like you cannot explain that. You can say, okay, maybe it's too generic, but it's not. It's not too generic. It's being a little bit more specific in some of these cases. Not maybe necessarily, oh, you would know this person, and this is where they live, this is what their name, it's not like that specific. Or it's not about like, oh, this is what your job is, that's what they're not any like specific details like that, but the overall general theme of exactly how things are being laid out. To the point where it's like, they do the tarot reading. It's not like they're just saying something. And it's not like I'm actually even there giving them any input. I'm watching a video of someone who draws tarot cards. Based on that, they give their interpretation of it, and it's like, there is no way. Just I just feel like sometimes I'm at a loss for words, to say the least. That is the whole sum of this video. I don't even know if you understood any of this. I don't know if any of this even makes sense, because it doesn't make much sense to me, except for the fact that life is teaching me something. Life is saying to me, hey, we're going to bring people into your life and we're going to take them away, because there's been plenty of people who have come into my life and have left them. And that's how you learn. No matter how painful it is, no matter how painful it is, you will learn. Because it's so interesting, because as I mentioned early on in this video, the soulmate or twin flame connections, whatever you wish to call them, they are a bit different, whatever. It doesn't matter. When you have those connections, at least what I've noticed, is when you actively have that person in your life, it's almost like you become closed off. I have not experienced this level of stuff, these synchronicities, in a very long time, because, there were other people in my life who was not necessarily blocking it, but it's like it kind of was, because they were there already in my life. But that it's like life is like, no, it's time for you to move on to the next phase of your life. So we're going to remove this person and we're going to bring in some other people. And it's like, I just, I don't know you folks. However things go past this point, I'm going to say, probably by the end of this year, possibly everything could be different from how things are now. I don't know. I am just so blown away by all this. So I'm just curious to know if any of you have experienced any weird or interesting things over the past few weeks, like middle of April to the end of April or early May or whatever the case is. Have you noticed any stuff? Because I'm very curious, because for me, lots of learning. It's very it's an emotional journey. Like all of like the emotional release that I've had, and just like all of the just mind is like, I just can't comprehend a lot of this stuff. So let me know what your thoughts are and your interpretation. And I hope to be able to, in the coming months, share some more details outlining this situation. But right now, if I were to outline it, it wouldn't make sense, and things could end up changing. I don't know. So anyway, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.